going on? Welcome back to the channel. You're watching Unbiased Magic Reviews. Thanks so much for stopping by and spending a few moments of your day with me. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I would urge you to do that so you don't miss out on future reviews just like this. Today I'm going over 5 simple impromptu card forces that you probably aren't using. If you're like me, you probably noticed that most instructional content out there always teach the same card forces, to the point that I think lay people now are familiar with seeing the same moves so often. I think they kind of suspect what they're seeing. And what I'm talking about is, like your standard dribble force, standard riffle force, Hindu force, crosscut force, the original Balducci force. So these forces have been beaten to death because they're taught so frequently, because they're very basic and they're very easy to do. But there are other forces that are just as easy to do. They're just not as well known. So that's why I decided I was going to put this review together for you guys. And the criteria that I came up with is just 3 simple things. That 1, all of these forces are impromptu from a shuffle deck in use. 2, that they don't use any gimmicks or gaffes, and 3, that there's no difficult sleight of hand. So they're all very basic and very simple. In fact, you can find probably all of these in the Encyclopedia of Impromptu Card Forces by Lewis Jones, and they're published and taught in many different places too. And as we go, I'll try to give you guys some sources as well. If there is interest, I could do another review on like my favorite card forces that are a little more difficult, and even my favorite card forces that use gimmicks and gaffes, because even with just 1 gaff card, you can do a card force that looks so fair it will fool literally everyone, because it's so visual and impossible looking. So that could be for a future video. Now, I've used all of these forces for years and they're extremely reliable. And some are extremely bold. So we're going to go in order of like less bold to most bold. Like number 1 is absolutely bold, but it fools everyone. Go figure. And I would invite you to try it out on somebody so you'll see how fooling it is. You'll be laughing on the inside, really. But before we do that, I got a couple of notable mentions for you guys. In fact, I'm just going to give you 2 notable mentions because otherwise this will be really long. But they're good, so you will want to track these down. So the first notable mention is an elimination force. It's called the Matsuyama elimination force. I think that's the name of the guy who created it. And you can find this published in a couple of different places. It's a way of forcing one of 2 options. So it's not something that you can use not only just with card magic, but you can also use it with mentalism too. So it's a very useful force. But like if you want to force red or black, high or low, a court card or a spot card, and you could even use it to force one of the 4 suits as well. And the reason why it's such a good force is because the spectator is going to use some cards to do the elimination, and they're going to feel like they have complete control of what's going on. Little do they know they're actually being forced. Now, you can find this published in John Bannon's book called Destination Zero. I think it was published under the trick of Pedal to the Metal. You can also find it published in Steve Beam's book called Semi-Automatic Card Tricks Volume 4 and Volume 8. But Volume 4 had a whole chapter dedicated to this force with a bunch of tricks that you could do with it. It was really good, so you may want to just check out that volume so you can learn it there. That's my first notable mention for you guys. Extremely basic, really easy to do, but very useful. That's why I'm mentioning it to you guys. The other notable mention is a force by Jean-Pierre Vagerino. He actually put out a whole project on card forces, but the one card force from there that I'm going to recommend to you guys is one that he called the Rendezvous Force. And the reason why I really liked it was because it was so simple and it looked so fair. You just cut off little groups of cards off of the deck onto the table until the spectator says stop, and then you hand them the top card of the pile, and that's it. That's the force card. It's just so smart, and it's not like a timing force or anything like that, but it's just such a great force. It's so easy to do. But it is just a notable mention because these other forces are even easier to do and just as fooling, which is why it's just a notable mention. So let's get into this list of 5 simple impromptu card forces that you probably aren't using. Starting out with number 5, we have a card force that you've probably heard of many times over the years, and that is Gary Oulet's touch force. You probably have heard of it. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. I'm also going to show you just a short clip of Gary Oulet himself performing it, because I have like an old VHS video of where he taught it. It's actually kind of crazy that I still have that kind of stuff laying around, but this is what it looks like. You spread the cards, you have somebody touch any card they want, you just up jog it like this, and you say, don't forget your card. And that's it. You force the card on them. Now, the one thing I was going to tell you guys about this is that if you do have his 1991 lecture notes, you can learn it from there. But this is published in a couple of different places. It's taught on a lot of instructional videos as well. But if you do have the 1991 lecture notes, there's also a variation of it by Bob Farmer there, where it's done differently, but it's very similar. And I think he called it like the crossbow force, I think is what he called to it. And on top of that, he also showed a variation of the force where you do it from the deck face up. And it was called something like chilled to the bone switch or something like that. So these are all nice variations that you will definitely want to learn as well. So I'd urge you to hunt down those lecture notes if you can. Let me show you real quick what it looks like in Gary Oulet's hands. Let's take a look at that. All right, so that was number 5 on my list. Moving along to number 4, we have a force that you're probably seen, but it's probably been a little bit of time, and that is the glide force. And what that looks like is this, is that you're just going to run your hand down the side of the deck like this until the spectator says stop. Wherever they say stop, you could even say, do you want to go a little further? Whatever they want, but eventually you're going to say, here, take a look at your card, and of course, it's going to be the force card. Such a simple force, but very, very useful and very, very fooling and super simple. And that's the glide force. I'm sure you've seen it. You probably just haven't used it in a while, but it's definitely a good force. And that's number 4 on my list. Moving along to number 3, we have the So Simple card force by Lynn Searles. And it is so simple, absolutely diabolically simple. And in this card force, what you do is this, is that you have the deck, you tell the spectator to cut off any group that they want and turn them face up, and all you do is spread the cards on the table, and you tell them to take a look at that first face down card where they cut the deck, and they take a look at it, and it's your force card. It's that simple. It's so simple that it flies by everybody. When you read it, you'll say, oh my God, does that actually fool people? It does. It fools everybody, surprisingly. And it's such a good force too. I'm surprised that it's not taught more often. But I mention it to you guys because I've gotten just so much good use out of it over the years. So I would urge you definitely to check it out because it looks really fair too. All right, moving along to number 2, we have the Charlier cut force. And this is a favorite of mine. It also was a favorite of Matt Schulian's. I've used this extensively over the years. Extremely bold card force. If you can do a Charlier cut, then you can do this force. It's so simple. What I like to do is I like to look away while I'm doing it. And so all I'm going to do is this. I'm going to riffle down the pack until they say stop. And wherever they say stop, I'm just going to open the pack there and say, here, take a look at the card that you told me to cut to here in the center where you stopped me. And that's it. And it looks like you just opened the deck where they stopped you. That's it. So it's extremely fooling to spectators, which is why I've used it and abused it for years. Moving along to number 1, we have the boldest force, the simplest impromptu card force that you probably aren't using, and that is the kick cut force. This is so bold and so simple, it will amaze you that it fools people, but it fools everyone. Go figure. This is what it looks like. You're going to riffle down the pack and tell a spectator to just say stop anywhere they want. So they're going to say stop somewhere. You're going to say, here, take a look at the card that you stopped me at. And that is it. And for some reason, the brain just doesn't comprehend what it just saw. It fools everyone, even though it's so bold and so simple. And that's why it's number one here on this list of 5 simple impromptu card forces that you probably aren't using. Anyway, I hope that there's something here on this list that you found useful. If you think that I missed something, or you think that there's something that belongs on this list, just leave us a comment below. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, those are always welcome. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, guys, because it definitely does help. And it shows me that you're interested in this material. In fact, if you have any friends that are into card magic, I would urge you to just send them the video so they can check it out as well. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. I really do hope that this has been helpful to you, and I will see you on the next review.